Welcome back to the summit, ladies. I'm your host, Dr. Lisa Olszewski, and I'm so excited about our guest here today. This is JJ Virgin. You may know her from her different TV episodes that she's been on. She's a prominent TV and media personality. She has been the co-host of TLC, Freaky Eaters. She spent 2 years on camera as the nutritionist for weight loss challenges on Dr. Phil. She's also been on PBS, on Dr. Oz, on Rachel Ray, Access Hollywood, and The Today Show. She also speaks regularly and has shared the stage with notables, including people like Seth Godin, Lisa Nichols, Gary Vaynerchuk, Mark Hyman, Dan Buettner, and Mary Morrissey. She's also the author of 4 New York Times bestsellers, and we're going to talk a little bit about these today, but they're The Virgin Diet, The Virgin Diet Cookbook, JJ Virgin Sugar Impact Diet, and her cookbook, along with her latest book, Warrior Mom, 7 Secrets to a Bold, Brave Resilience, which shows mothers everywhere how to be strong, positive leaders for their families while exploring the inspirational lessons she learned as she fought for her own son's life. JJ has also launched over 10 businesses, and her current endeavors include founder of the Mindshare Collaborative, the most influential community in health. She's also founded her successful personal brand, JJ Virgin Associates, as well as co-founding the Unicorn Club, a group for women entrepreneurs with 7 to 9 figure businesses. She also hosts 2 popular podcasts, Mindcast for health experts and entrepreneurs, and the JJ Virgin Lifestyle Show with health tips for consumers. So you can definitely find her over there. She has had, this says 4.5 million downloads, but I think I heard you say recently you've just reached 8 million, right?
I've just passed 8. Yes.
Woo-hoo!
Crazy.
So she's also, you can find her on blogs. This lady is full of information. I'm so excited to deep dive in today. And really, when I read the line, JJ, about being the strong, positive leader for our families, that's really what the our entire summit has been about, is because when we're happy and healthy and vibrant ourselves, we can actually just be that role model for our children, for our communities, and so much more. So let's talk a little bit about, I'd love to hear your story, how you ended up into this with your exercise routine. And I know, especially with your fitness and with weight loss resistance and all of that. And let's talk about the importance of exercise. Let's just go through all of this, because I know, especially as a busy mom, we put ourselves on the back burner a lot.
Right. And that actually is the worst thing you could do for your kids and your family. And that's what's really important for us all to get. And I still remember, Lisa, I had this client who signed up to work with me one-on-one because she'd just recently been in the hospital and she was freaked out. She was the sole financial support for her family. And she started to think, man, if I don't take care of myself, if I go, what's going to happen? So we lay out a plan, and she was supposed to report into me every day as we got this going. And I don't hear from her. Crickets. I give her a couple days because, hey, we got to take responsibility for our own health. I reach out. I don't hear from her. I'm like, this is the strangest thing ever. 3 weeks go by. Finally, I hear from her and she says, I'm so sorry. I've been so busy. And she starts listing off all these things that she has been so busy with. None of them involve any of the things that we outlined for her to do, which weren't overwhelming, because I think you always need to start with these small wins. Really, it was a mental shift to putting herself and her self-care first, right? She has a list she's going through. And at the very end of the list was making sure she got life insurance so that if she died, she left her family okay. Nowhere on the list. She prioritized life insurance before she prioritized taking care of her health. Like, hello. And I think that is really demonstrative of where we are as women. We feel guilty if we're taking time out for ourselves. We feel like we've got to pour into our families. But the reality is, if you're not pouring into yourself in terms of how you eat, your workouts, your stress management, your sleep, you got nothing in the tank to pour into anybody else. And so if you're having trouble feeling guilty, feeling like you're not worthy, all that crappy self-talk we do to ourselves, realize that if you really want to be the healthcare CEO for your family, which we are, then it starts with you. It starts top down. So don't try to tell your kids how to eat healthy if you're eating garbage, telling them that they need to work out when you're not, that they need to get good sleep and you're robbing from it. It starts first with being that person, and then really your family just follows suit. My kids, people always ask, how do your kids eat? I go, they're like crazy healthy eaters because I wasn't a pushy mom about it when we were growing up. I made healthy food. And then if something like if they, were going to have friends over, they could have a pizza party. If they went to a birthday party, they had cake. I wasn't going to be that crazy mom, but they just learned how to eat healthy. So the super important thing here, and the big line is self-care is selfless. And if you're sitting listening to this right now and you're going, yeah, right, but I'm too busy, blah, 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 that talk track, let's not start with doing a 180-degree overhaul of everything. Let's outline a plan, which you're going to get from this summit and all this information, and then start with prioritizing and just take one thing at a time to put into your life.
I love it. And that's how I always encourage our patients. It's baby steps, right? Baby steps are
Yes.
simple and sustainable steps. And where you are right now, you did not get there overnight.
Mm-mm.
Like all of us, it's been steps that we have continuously just built upon one upon the other.
Right.
So,
And I'm still building on them right now.
right. We're always a work in progress. So
Right.
for that mom that's sitting here right now saying, how in the world do I even manage exercise? Let's talk a little bit about it could be people that used to say, I travel all the time. I don't have time for this. I don't have time to eat healthy. I don't have time for exercise. But now that, people are not traveling anymore.
But they're saying, here's the deal, Lisa, the big news out is that we're working more than ever, even though that we're working from home, and especially with moms who now have kids at home and they're working. So here's the thing, you will always find time to do everything other than exercise. Right? You always will. So that's why these things have to become priorities. So let's say that you're going to start with exercise. Here's what's awesome. The good news is you don't need to exercise anywhere near as long as you thought you needed to in order to have great effects. Everything counts. So where I start people off is tracking. And the first thing that you do is simply move more. So whether it's a Fitbit, an Apple Watch, an Oura Ring, you start tracking your movement throughout the day. And so if you are moving 1,000 steps a day, double it, and you just keep moving it until you're moving at least 5,000 steps a day. So that's the first thing, is just flat out move more. And I'll give you some examples of how you can do this. I have a dog. That is one of the best ways to move more, because that dog is going to look at you like, we're going out, right? We got to go for a walk now, right? And you cannot look at a little dog with their little eyes and not do that. So first step would be get a dog. And next one is look at the phone calls, things that you could do as a walking date. I have an hour call this afternoon that I'm going to go and walk during. So look where you can do that. And it's especially great if you can time those walks for after you eat. Like one of the best things you can do in terms of regulating your blood sugar, which is everything, is to take a walk after you eat at night. That's fantastic. And it will also help you sleep better. So that first thing is just to simply move more. The next thing is, I call it burst to blast fat, is to start to integrate in some high intensity interval training into your life. And this is something that you'd want to do 3 times a week. And this is fantastic because it doesn't take much. It's 4 at least total minutes of all out bursting. So what you do is you first warm up a little bit, and that could be as easy as going up and down the stairs at your house or whatever. And then there's a little piece of equipment called an exerciser, really small footprint, indestructible. I have boys, they could not break it. That's my Uber test for these things. So you could use that. You could use the stairs at your house. You could do some dancing. You could use a bike, but you go all out for a minute and then you recover for twice as long. You move around, you do it again, recover for twice as long. And so you do that 4 total times with twice as long as recovery. And so you look at that and go, that's about 15 minutes. We can do this. You can fit this in. And what's awesome is, if you're really crazy for time, you can actually burst, like you can be making dinner, then you can do a minute burst. make some more dinner, do a minute burst. So you can fit this in. And that's what I'm a big proponent of, is putting this on your daily list and fitting fitness in. So first step was moving more. Second step is now to integrate in high intensity interval training. Again, I call it bursting to blast fat. So you get what it's doing. It also is super awesome because it helps train your sympathetic nervous system to manage stress better. And who doesn't need that? Because your body gets hit with a bunch of stress and then it blows it off and recovers. Hits with a bunch of stress, blows it off and recovers. So once you've incorporated that into your routine every other day, the next step is to add in some resistance training. And this is so important for women. And this cannot be underscored. And I remember like 30 years ago, I became obsessed with weight training. And back then we were taught that you should never have anyone weight train until they've lost weight because they're just going to get bigger. And I kept looking at that going, that really doesn't make sense. Like everything back then was about doing lots of cardio, at least 30 minutes, but ideally at least 60 minutes or more, so you got in the fat burning zone. I thought that doesn't make sense because the minute you stop that, it stops working. When you do weight training, you're changing your body's interest rate. You're creating the situation where your body needs to spend more all day long. Beyond optimizing your thyroid function, it's really the key way that you can change your metabolic rate. Everybody talks about wanting a better metabolism. Well, you get a better metabolism by building muscle, and it does a couple awesome things. Number one, it works like metabolic Spanx, meaning that it's going to hold everything in tighter and help your body burn more fat and calories. So that's number one. It's like metabolic Spanx. And let's face it, you can't wear Spanx on your arms, right? So this is great. And Spanx are uncomfortable. I don't know how the heck people wear those. So that's first one. Number two, it requires more energy to be on your body. Your body has to work to recover from a weight training session, and that recovery requires more energy. So more muscle means a higher metabolic rate. And number three, one of the easiest ways for you to improve your insulin sensitivity, your body's ability to burn off fat, and to get you more able to tolerate your sugar, is through building muscle. Improves glucose tolerance, improves insulin sensitivity. So that is super duper important. And number four is it helps build better bones. I think one of the things that we should be most concerned about as we age is our bone density. And you don't want to find out at 50, 60, 70 that you've got osteopenia or osteoporosis, right? Low bone mineral density, because it's really hard to build it back. You want to keep it. And one of the ways you do that is through weight training. So on the days you're not doing the bursting, those are the days you do weight training. And you can do this at home with either get yourself a TRX, which those are easy to get. Right now, I know it's hard to get dumbbells. I don't know if that situation has changed, but dumbbells, a TRX, you can build a home gym with an exerciser, a TRX, an exercise ball, and some dumbbells. And my gosh, you can do that for like $500 and you've got everything that you need. Absolutely. Maybe 600 if you're really splurging. And for weight training, what you really want to focus on is all the major muscles. I call it upper body pulling is your lats, your biceps, and your upper back. Upper body pushing is your triceps and your chest muscles. Hips and thighs are obvious. And then your power core, your back and abdominal muscles. And you want to do a couple exercises as full body as possible for each one. Involve balance wherever you can, because in life, we're not bolted to the floor. And do a couple of sets, 8 to 12 repetitions. That's how your body builds muscle the best in that range, with about a minute break, because your body has to work hard and then recover, and then work hard and then recover. Because when you're lifting weights, you're not using all the muscles. Let's say I'm doing an upright row like this. Well, I'm not using all the bicep, all the shoulder, all the upper back trap muscles when I do it. But each time I do it, I fatigue more of them and more of them and more of them. And you only stimulate the muscles that get activated. That's why you do multiple sets. And that's why you do it in that range. So that's really the combination. And as you can see, it may take you, a couple weeks to a couple months to get into that routine. It really doesn't matter. First, you start moving more and you track that. and make sure that you're moving a reasonable amount each day. Then you add in the HIIT training 3 times a week and build up to that. And HIIT training never gets easier. You just keep going harder and you mix it up as much as possible. Then you add in weight training and do that 2 to 3 times a week. And once you've got that all going, the final thing is to get in some core flexibility work that involves breath. So that would be like yoga or mat Pilates that really helps, again, with stress and really helps you get more into your breathing so that you can really, again, get your parasympathetic nervous system dialed in as well. But that's it. And again, if it takes you 3 to 4 months to get that totally dialed, it doesn't really matter because now you've got habits that will benefit you for the lifetime.
Yes, and absolutely. And even if it's just one thing that they start to incorporate today, I always tell people a month from now, if that's the only thing that you're still doing, a month from now is like starting out with the walking and then you start
Mhm.
to add in the HIIT, like you're still healthier a month from now
Yeah.
than you are today.
Yeah.
So
We always want to just, it's that New Year's thing of like, okay, did I throw you with the naked comment?
yeah, no. Like you froze for a split second there. I'm like, ah. So absolutely, we want all of this stuff. And what I love what you had just said is also about osteopenia. Osteoporosis is one of those diagnoses nobody wants. But the
Right.
other thing that I've oftentimes, and I'm sure you see it too, where women are doing aerobics or water aerobics for bone density, right?
Oh, that's so stupid. Like,
I agree.
I mean, I get
Let's
upset when
bust
I hear that
myth. There
someone's
is nothing.
that's undoing it. If anything, water aerobics is not going to help with bone density at all. And it also, by the way, doesn't help a lot with body fat. It's good for movement. It can help joint health. It's a great way. I've rehabbed from knee injuries in the water, but swimmers tend to have higher body fat. It's specific to the sport and it's not great for your bone density. So you need to get yourself on land unless there's really no other way to do
some weight bearing. Let's talk about the importance of muscle mass and muscle density, because I don't think women realize how fast we lose that. And that's why it's so important to be able to incorporate weight training exercises, because we want to be able to squat. We want to be able to lift. We want to be able to get off the toilet seat when we're older, right?
Yes. We want to be able to walk down the stairs in high heels, right? All of these things. You don't want to lose it. You want to keep using it. And as we age, your margin for error goes down, right? Because a lot of the hormones that would help you maintain muscle mass are now starting to get wonky. So, if your testosterone goes down, women have testosterone. If it's lower, it's going to be harder for you to build muscle. If you're under more stress, if cortisol is higher, that's going to break down muscle and bone. So that's important. If your sleep's not great, you're going to have trouble with growth hormones. So you're going to have trouble holding on to muscle. So it is super duper important. Like, if there was one exercise that is the most important thing for women as they age, and I think of 35 plus, it's weight training above all else, because you're going to hold on to muscle, you're going to hold on to bone, you're going to keep insulin sensitivity going, you're going to help with growth hormone response, you're going to help with testosterone. So it's super important. It's not just for looking good. Yes, it's going to help you look better too, but that's a side benefit of it. It's really all of these other things that you're going to need to do as you age. You push yourself out of a chair. Yeah. Any of those types of things.
So let's talk a little bit about the food component and snacking and what are some of the best foods for really losing fat, gaining muscle?
Okay.
Let's talk about,
snacking makes me nuts. I don't know. I've been in this business for a long time, 35 plus years. So I've seen all of these things hit, and snacking came in when fat was the villain. And so fat went down and people were literally starving all the time. I know, because I was one of them. If you're not eating any fat, and you're supposed to eat a high carb diet, your blood sugar is absolutely unstable and you're eating all the time. So what happens when you eat? Well, when you eat, your blood sugar goes up. And if your blood sugar goes up, your insulin has to come up to bring your blood sugar back down to normal, because high blood sugar creates all sorts of problems in your body, lots of inflammation. We know that even a moderately elevated blood sugar, say 90, 5x's your risk for dementia. So So you've got blood sugar coming up, insulin comes up to bring blood sugar back down, but insulin takes longer to respond than blood sugar does. Blood sugar moves faster. So if you had breakfast around 7 and then you thought you were supposed to have that mid-morning snack, because God forbid you feel even the slightest bit of hunger, then you have a little snack. Well, you have the snack, that insulin hasn't had time to really come all the way back down. Now your blood sugar comes back up, it bumps up insulin again. And what happens if you do this all throughout the day, you have breakfast, you have a snack, you have lunch, you have a snack, you have dinner, and then, oh my gosh, you must have that snack before bed too. So that, I don't know why, what do you need to have food for it when you're sleeping? But if you do that, you're keeping insulin up all day long. Over and over and over, your cells you start to become resistant to insulin. It's elevated, it's making you inflamed, but worse than that, because it's staying elevated, your body can't use stored fat for fuel. And so now you're starting to become hungry every couple hours. So now when you hear, oh, I shouldn't be snacking, I want to move into being able to extend my time between meals 4 to 6 hours. But all of a sudden now you get hypoglycemic because you can't access your stored fat for fuel. Your body's relying on that food coming in every couple hours. You can restore this quickly. Weight training is one of the ways. Eating a balanced diet of protein, fat, and fiber. That's the trifecta for blood sugar balance, because the protein and fiber slow down stomach emptying. They keep you feeling fuller longer, and the fat triggers the release of some chemicals to the brain to tell you you're full. So that will help you stay satiated longer. Drink more water in between meals, drink lemon juice in between meals. That helps lower the blood sugar response to a meal, and you can start to extend that time out. Because ideally, you're having 2 to 3 meals a day, and you are stopping eating at least 3 to 4 hours before bed, because while you sleep, you do not want to have food going on. You don't want to end up with GERD, right? And also, you want to be able to get your body to elevate growth hormone. If you've got food in your stomach, that makes it hard to do. So you want to make sure that you have stopped eating 3 to 4 hours before bed. And then you want to start working towards, at the minimum, a 12-hour overnight fast. And if you can extend that to longer, it's better, at least a couple times a week, to a 16-hour fast. I find that for most women, they do better when they do like a 10 a.m. and a 5 to 6 p.m. versus a like noon or 1. I think men can do that, but I find for most women, we do better with like a later breakfast, early dinner, versus the other. So that's what I like to do. Now, here's the big thing when you start to look at how you build muscle mass and how food plays a role here. First of all, it's changed a lot, but it used to be, when I looked at diet logs, that women tended to eat low fat, high carb, and not a lot of protein, which is going to make it difficult because you need the protein to build muscle. But the other key problem there was that not only do you need to eat this protein, you need to digest it. And I think that's the piece that a lot of us are missing, is as we age, and if we're under any kind of stress, it is harder for us to have the digestive enzymes we need, specifically hydrochloric acid, to digest protein. One of the most miraculous things I've seen is when women start to take betaine HCl, it's like heartburn goes away, skin clears up. If they had rosacea, it goes away. If they have any bleeding gums, it tends to go away. I mean, all sorts of stuff happens, but it's very, very common at the age of 35 plus and under any kind of stress to be lower in stomach acid. And that's where I say, unless you have a history of any kind of ulcers, to do a trial of this and see how you feel, because it can be a game changer. I also see the same problem with fat, and you can kind of see it in the toilet. If you've got like oily looking stools in the toilet, that can be a sign that you're not breaking down your fat well, but both of those can make a big difference. The protein, obviously, with muscle mass, and the fat with skin moisture.
Yes. And that's what we all want, our hair quality and all of that too.
Right.
JJ, this was fabulous information. I so appreciate your time today. Please share with them about your podcast and everywhere else where they can find you.
Yes. Well, we just flipped over to a daily show because I was home during the pandemic. I'm like, okay, let's do this, which is fun. It's now called Ask the Health Expert. So it's a quickie every day. It's about 5 to 7 minutes where we tackle a top question each day, and they come from the listeners. But if you go to jjvirgin.com, all that information's there. We do tons of blogs and recipes and exercises and podcasts and all the social stuff. So, and this is a team that does this. This is not me over here, being crazy. Because again, we've got to make sure that we are taking time out for our sleep and our exercise and eating right and managing stress. And that does not happen if you're working 70 hours a week.
I agree. Well, thank you so much for being here today. I so appreciate your time.
Thank you.